Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, today's commemoration, I would like to welcome the former prisoners of Auschwitz and survivors of the Holocaust. I'd like to welcome all the representatives of national and regional authorities as well as foreign delegations. I welcome ambassadors of the countries that the history of this place is important for them. I welcome the representatives of churches and religious communities, as well as the Jewish community and the Roma community. I welcome the representatives of all organizations and institutions and other people who came to this commemoration, as well as all those who join us via online streaming and on TV.
It's been almost 100 years since I experienced and the Jewish population experienced these horrors. And it's fading in the memory of people. It's superseded by other events in the world. But Auschwitz is a unique experience in the Western world. And so I think it has to be remembered.
Ich sage auch immer in der Schule,
I always repeat to the students at schools that they should learn from what has happened, that it can always repeat. Be vigilant, don't be silent. When you experience injustice, counteract. Don't be silent, because we should never forget. Because the future of this world is in the hands of young people. That is why at every meeting that I often have with young people, I repeat that the future of the world is in your hands, and it depends on you what it will be like, so that you do not allow what happened in Auschwitz-Birkenau to happen again. It means that I'm alive, and it is great. And I wish people valued life, because indeed, if they don't come to their senses, nothing good awaits anyone. It is not that some are smarter, so they will win, and those less smart won't. No, there will be no winners now. If it comes to something new, there will be only the defeated. What has happened has to somehow resurface, and we have to tell everyone that if we continue to live like we do, with wars, undemocratic parties, then difficult time will come. It doesn't matter if there is a skin color or religion, it doesn't matter. This is a human being, and you should treat them the way you would like to be treated. Until we achieve that, I'm afraid there will be conflicts and problems. It is a bit difficult for me because I am experiencing it all over again, dwelling on it, and I am angry that life has turned out this way. But the war happened, and this was all caused by the war. It is important to warn young people that they should respect each other, that they respect each other and that they show consideration for each other. We must, as thinking beings who want good for humanity, one day break this spiral of evil. Mutual accusations, you did this to me and I paid you back, that was my revenge, and this spiral goes up. One day, we as thinking people must use our common sense and stop this. We should think and remember about the tragic past, but not get stuck in hatred towards other people who think or speak differently. Look at the world in a positive way. It is very difficult, but we should do that. There is no other way.
Chcę zwrócić
All I want is to draw your attention to the lyrics,
słuchanie
because these lyrics are exceptionally inspiring.
którego
The author of the lyrics is Rabbi Nachman of Breslov,
ale znany
better known as Rabbi Nachman of Uman,
ponieważ tam
because that was where he had his body buried among the graves of the victims of the pogrom.
Kol ha'olam kulo. Cały
Our entire
nasz świat,
world,
nasz świat.
our world,
Gesher czar מאוד. Jest
is like a very
bardzo
narrow bridge.
pomost. Wyhajikar. A co
And
najważniejsze,
the main thing is,
lo lefachet klal. Nie
do
bać się
not
wcale.
be afraid at all.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now listened to the voices of Auschwitz survivors. During this commemoration, we will hear an exceptional testimony of Zeuman Gradovski that has been deported to Auschwitz with his family from Grodno. His relatives, his wife and parents have been murdered in gas chambers immediately after coming to the camp. Zeuman has become a part of Sonderkommando, which was a special task force of prisoners that worked in gas chambers and crematoria. In order to inform the world about Holocaust, he noted down notes that became a literal testimony of the Holocaust. And now Mr. Michał Żebrowski will read his testimony.
kochałem go.
I loved her,
Z drżeniem,
and with trembling I awaited her coming.
niczym wierne sługa,
Like a faithful servant,
i podziwiałem.
I would stand hours long and admire her splendor and her magic.
Najbardziej zaufanym przyjacielem człowieka.
She was man's closest friend.
Człowiek powierzał
In her,
swojego
he confided the secrets of his life, and to her he revealed all.
pod jego panowaniem.
In her kingdom, he felt safe and secure,
Szczęśliwy,
happy and overjoyed,
pełen
infused with hope and courage.
Tak było kiedyś.
That was all before,
Gdy widywałem
when I
moje
would see
sny
her
wielkiej
in my
wolności.
still free sky,
Kiedy byłem jeszcze
when I
człowiekiem,
was still a man like other men.
byłem
A
dzieckiem
child of my parents,
żyłem w
I lived with brothers and sisters,
miałem żonę.
a wife who loved me, and
Wtedy
the moon
księżyc
was then for me
był dla mnie
a source of life and joy,
ponieważ
for she intoxicated me with her generous hand and enchanted me by her magic and beauty.
Ale dzisiaj,
But now that I am alone,
opuszczony,
left solitary here,
jedyny, który tu
my home, my family, my world, my people wiped out
zostali
by the
niewinnie
pirates
osadzeni
cruelly
przez tych piratów.
and for no reason.
A ja, jeden
And
z milionów
I,
skazanych na śmierć,
alone among millions under sentence of death,
zakłuty w kajdanach.
sit enchained in my prison. Today, when I see her,
Uciekam.
I run from her
Jak
as from a ghost.
Dlaczego?
Why do you come today as deep in love and dreams,
Zakochany,
as enchanted as before,
zaczarowany,
and you
jak
do not
on,
even feel the
nie
great
przyjmując
disaster,
tą wielką zagładą.
the great misfortune
Ci mordercy i
that
piraci
they,
sprowadzili na
the murderers and pirates, have brought with them to the world?
Jesteś
Why do you feel nothing?
Czyż nie brak
Don't
ci
you miss them,
żywych
the
istot,
millions
które
of
żyły
vibrant
bezpiecznie,
lives that
spokojnie,
once,
beztrosko,
in all of
w całej
Europe,
Europie,
lived calm and carefree until the storm arrived and drowned the world in a sea of blood?
Dlaczego?
Why don't you
Serdeczny
look
księżycu,
down, you dear kind
spoglądając na
moon,
ten pustynny
on the
świat,
wilderness of
nie
our
dostrzegasz
world
opustoszałych
and
domów,
see all the homes
zgaszonego
now
światła,
emptied, the lights
życia,
extinguished,
które zniknęły?
the lives vanished?
Dlaczego,
Why
księżycu,
don't you feel,
nie
moon,
czujesz
the
straszliwego
terrible
smutku,
sadness
który
that has
pochłonął
enveloped
świat?
the world?
Przyjdź tu, księżycu.
Moon, dearest moon,
Rzuć spojrzenie
look
twoich jasnych
down with
oczu
your
na tę
bright
przeklętą
eyes on this
ziemią zimną
cursed world and
i
see.
zobacz. Czy widzisz,
Do you
księżycu,
see,
płomienie, które
moon,
palają
the
z
flames
wysokości
shooting
płomieni
out
w
of the
niebo?
tall chimneys and
To
up to the
płoną dzieci
heavens?
mojego narodu.
Already they are burning.
Przed kilku
The
godzinami
children of my people,
a teraz
who just
w
hours
oczach
ago
nie ma
were
żadnego
alive,
śladu.
and now in minutes no trace of
Przyjdź
them
tu,
remains.
księżycu.
Come here, moon,
Pozostań tu
and
na
remain
zawsze.
here motionless forever.
Usiądź na ławeczce
Sit
żałobnej
down on a
przy
mourner's
grobie mojego
bench
narodu.
at my people's grave
Przynajmniej ty
and shed
uroń
at
nad
least
nimi
a
łzę,
tear for them,
ponieważ
for no one else
zostawiłeś
is left here
kto by ich
to
opłakał.
weep, to mourn for them.
Niechaj twój jedyny
May
promień,
your only ray,
twoje żałobne
your
światło
mournful
wiecznie
light,
świeci nad
burn
grobem
forever
mojego
at my
narodu.
people's grave.
To będzie dla nich
May
świeca
that be their,
rośnicowa,
their mourner's candle
którą tylko ty
that only you
możesz
can
zapalić.
light for them.
O zabranie głosu proszę ocalałego z Auschwitz, pana Bernarda Offena.
I would now like to invite a survivor, Mr. Bernard Offen, to take the floor.
Dear survivors, friends, compatriots, and those who are listening and watching, my name is Bernard Offen. I have come to this place of death to talk to you about life. Although I feel torn to pieces inside, I'm almost 97 years young, and I'm a survivor of 5 camps, including this one. Why do I mention those days when you survive the Holocaust, when each day was a struggle to stay alive? You realize that each day of life is precious. I was born in Krakow and had a pretty fine life before the war started. I lived with my father and mother, Jacob and Gittel, and my sister Miriam, and my brother Sam and Nathan. I was the youngest. Life for Jews in pre-war Krakow wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. My family wasn't rich, but we had enough to eat, and for a little kid growing up next door to a chocolate factory, life was often sweet. When the Germans invaded, life changed pretty fast. Our family didn't manage to stay together. I smuggled food into the Krakow ghetto. One day after returning, I learned from my father and my mother and sister had been taken from the ghetto. They disappeared. Later, I learned that they had been murdered in Auschwitz death camp. After many months, I was separated from my father in Auschwitz. My father was sent to the left toward death, and I was sent to the right. I remember that moment, our eye contact, and the feeling that we were seeing each other for the last time. He was sent to his death, and I was given a chance to live. Then they tattooed a number on my forearm, and I was transferred to a transit camp. There, when I asked what happened to my father, my fellow prisoners replied that he was turned into smoke. It took me some time to understand what that meant. I saw how people died from hunger and torture. I heard sounds of suffering, gunshots, dogs. I could smell the stench of burning corpses and the stench coming from the latrines. I even denied it to myself what I heard, smelled, and felt. I was liberated from a death march from Dachau concentration camp along with other prisoners by the American Army. At that time, I thought I was alone. However, after some months of searching if any family members survived, I found my 2 brothers who had joined General Under's army in Italy and who didn't know that I survived. We lived for a few years in England, before we located a distant relative in America who sponsored the three of us to come and start a new life in Detroit, Michigan. In varying degrees, we managed to put the Holocaust behind us, but I always felt that I had to confront unanswered questions that have never left me. My first visit back to Poland was in 1981. I visited Auschwitz and realized that part of my healing process would be telling my story, especially to young people. I have been coming back to Poland regularly and visited Auschwitz many times, always bearing testimony and reconnecting with people. I made movies and wrote books. I always was trying to focus on life and focus on love. I learned that the only way forward we have as a people is not through revenge, anger, and resentment for crimes as awful as the Holocaust. I had learned that the only way forward was through empathy, seeing the intrinsic value of every human being on the planet, and helping everyone uncover their self-worth. People always ask me how I survive. Was I clever or strong or lucky? I survived because people helped me. I call them my angels. My fellow prisoners helped me, Poles helped me, and even on occasion Germans helped me. The Holocaust showed me how awful human beings can be, but also, more importantly, how caring, courageous, and empathetic we can be, we must be. After 70 years in America, I decided a few years ago to move back to Poland. I didn't like the way things were going in America, and I felt I had more work to do in Poland, educating my fellow citizens. So now, once again, I live in beautiful Krakow. I have found my home again in Kazimierz, the Jewish Quarter, and my second home in the Jewish Community Center. And somehow, in a world that sadly has not learned the lessons of the Holocaust, where anti-Semitism and other hatreds are on the rise, my Krakow hometown has become one of the easiest and safest places to be Jewish. Every June, I do something incredible. I get on a bicycle at the gates of Auschwitz-Birkenau and ride along with hundreds of others, Jews and non-Jews, from across the world. From the darkness and despair of Auschwitz-Birkenau to the life and hope of the reborn Jewish community in Krakow during the ride for the living. Today, as I look at contemporary times, I see many signs I know all too well. I see hatred resurgent. I see violence beginning to be justified once again. I see people who believe their anger is more valuable than another human life. I say this because I am an old man who has seen where indifference leads to. And I say this because I believe. I truly believe that we can choose differently. I ask you today, let memory not be a burden. Let it be a light that guides us in the darkness. We, the witnesses, will soon pass away, but I believe this light will remain with you.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen,
symboliczne światło
we have lit the symbolic light of remembrance. I would now like to invite Mr. Jossi Matthias, a representative of the donors of the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation, to deliver the address.
I'm standing here humbled before the survivors who represent millions who perished. Mr. President, Director Dr. Tsiwinski, member of the Diplomatic Corps, representatives of the Polish government, distinguished guests, I'm deeply honored to stand before you. As someone born and raised in Israel, the Holocaust was not a chapter in history book. I was surrounded by survivors sharing their stories, by the shadows of families that were lost, and by the resilience of those who rebuilt. My grandparents and my wife's grandparents, born in Romania, Hungary, Poland, lost most of their family members in the Holocaust, including their parents, most of their siblings, with their spouses and young children, and numerous extended family members. I remember the never-ending pain in their eyes and the pictures of their loved ones who perished. My family is not an exception. Many Israelis and Jews and non-Jews around the world share the same history. As I'm standing here, I seek to honor the memory of all the millions who perished. I clearly remember the first visit to Auschwitz 14 years ago. Standing on this ground transformed the stories, pictures, and documentaries into crushing reality, feeling the magnitude of silence that is impossible to convey. The realization that what happened here is beyond comprehension. Returning today, I feel that weight again, listening to the moving testimonies we just heard, and the inspiring words of Mr. Bernard Offen. I am moved beyond words. It is a stark reminder that while the history is vast and the magnitude of the Holocaust is unmanageable, the loss was always individual. A face, a name, a life cut short, a whole family line becoming extinct. Lechol ish yesh shem. Just recently, I visited the Warsaw Ghetto. Walking there was a profoundly touching experience for me, getting a glimpse into the scale of the history, communities, and lives that were erased. And the visit at the monument to the ghetto heroes was a reminder of the admirable bravery under unmanageable conditions. We're approaching a critical threshold. We're moving from the era of living memory to the era of historical memory. As the voices of the witnesses inevitably fade, the silence threatens to return. Our work is not just about keeping the historical data, but also making information accessible to everyone, everywhere. This is key to preserving the memory of the Holocaust. Technology can be a powerful tool for promoting education and remembrance. Never again is not a passive hope. It is an active imperative. It demands our unwavering attention. That is why, over 15 years ago, I was proud to start and help lead an effort to digitize Holocaust documents and make them broadly available, partnering with museums around the world. From Yad Vashem in Jerusalem to right here at the Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum, to ensure history is preserved for future generations and never forgotten. What eventually became Google Arts and Culture, where now hundreds of museums, archives, and collections of humanity's precious heritage from all over the world are made available online, in fact started with this urgent mission to ensure the documents, photographs, and artifacts of the Holocaust were preserved and no longer bound to physical walls. To ensure that the information and the truth remain accessible to billions of people, regardless of where they live. I will never forget a message I received from an Auschwitz survivor living in Australia. He told me that for the first time in over 65 years, he was finally able to see the faces of the friends he has lost and the streets of his childhood town. It was a deeply personal restoration of a world taken away. Since then, I have heard so many other families who, through this work, had finally seen images of relatives they thought had vanished forever. But today, these memories are being challenged by growing shadow of distortion. The preservation of testimony has never been more critical. It is no longer enough to simply make information available. Our responsibility is to ensure it remains trusted and deeply understood. By leveraging technology, we can transform historical content into living memory, one that remains accessible and profoundly felt by the generations to come. So we're redoubling our efforts. We're working with the Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum to leverage the best of our technology, to help empower those who are doing the important work. We want to help preserve these testimonials, to allow the world to experience this place through digital lenses. Nothing can replace the experience of standing here in person. Nothing replaces the first-hand experience of the freezing air and the silence of this place. But we must reach the millions who cannot make the journey. We must ensure that a student in Buenos Aires or a researcher in Tokyo can bear witness with a sense of presence and immersion that was never before possible. We must make sure that everyone, everywhere, with a click of a button, can get a glimpse into the horror of this dark chapter in history. We must use every tool in our disposal, from data preservation to global education, to ensure that the message of this place remains clear, loud, and undeniable for every generation to come. And we should do that, and we should do what we can to help support the mission of Never Again. I want to especially thank the archivists and historians here and everywhere. You are the guardians of the evidence, and we are humbly here to provide tools that help you preserve it and share it with everyone around the globe. I want to express my sincere thanks to the Auschwitz-Birkenau Museum and Foundation for your tireless, holy work. Please know that we remain committed to supporting you in this shared mission. As I'm standing here, I seek to honor those who rebuilt, and I seek to honor the memory of all the millions who perished. Yeh zichram baruch.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and
głos
gentlemen,
oddaję opiekunowi miejsca pamięci
I now give the floor
Auschwitz-Birkenau, panu
to the
dyrektorowi,
custodian
doktorowi
of the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial, Dr. Piotr Cywiński.
Człowiek postawiony wobec zdarzeń niespodziewanych,
Man faced with the unexpected, unpredictable events
opiera się w dużej mierze na swoim doświadczeniu.
relies primarily on his experience.
Szuka punktów odniesienia.
The experience provides him with points of reference.
Człowiek
and
bez
help.
doświadczenia,
A man without experience is helpless.
doświadczenie jest mocą.
Experience is power.
W czasach szybkich zmian,
In times of rapid changes, in times of
w
instability,
chwilach niebezpiecznych,
in
nieprzewidywalnych
insecure
uczuć,
times,
wewnętrznych,
unpredictable, hard
wszyscy szukamy
to
ratunku,
fathom,
punktów
we all
odniesienia,
are looking for
pomocy,
points of reference, for
pamięci.
help in remembrance.
Pamięć pomaga
Remembrance
w
helps.
zeznaniu, w unikaniu zagrożeń,
Remembrance helps you find your way around, to avoid threats, to adopt directions, and to act with awareness. It is remembrance that is our stronghold, that is our support, that is the source of assessment in the most difficult of situations. It is from remembrance that the hierarchy of our actions and
pamięć jest potęgą. Dokładnie tak.
behavior stems from remembrance is power, just like experience. Remembrance and experience
Bliźniacze pojęcia,
are twin notions,
podobne do siebie jak tylko
similar,
bliźniacze rodzeństwo.
like a pair of twins.
Są jak skarby,
They are like treasures,
razy jak podpowiedzi.
like signposts, warnings.
Dziś żyjemy w czasach trudnych,
Today we live in difficult times.
budowany wielkimi wysiłkami ład.
The order that we have built with so much effort is breaking up. The international law is violated.
Całe systemy reguł i
The whole systems of rules
sypią się na naszych oczach.
and values collapse in front of our eyes.
Wszyscy jaśniej
We all
ogromną
see
uwagę
these days
doświadczenia,
more clearly the weight of experience and remembrance.
gdyż poruszamy się coraz bardziej w sytuacjach
We
niespodziewanych,
experience more and more
i niezrozumiałych.
unpredictable
Musimy więc
and inexplicable situations. So we have to rely on experience and its twin sister, remembrance. Memory is not a burden. It points to meaning. It does not stem from duty.
Przede wszystkim szanse.
It multiplies opportunity. Remembrance should not be seen as a lesson to be learned, but as a source of real support, enforcement, increasing awareness, deepening one's cognition.
Tylko ten, kto nie ceni doświadczenia,
Those who don't value experience
pamięci.
won't be able to value remembrance.
Wasze doświadczenie,
Your experience,
drodzy, tak bardzo bolesne,
dear
trudne,
survivors, so
tak
painful,
okrutne
and difficult, so cruel and unimaginable,
stało się fundamentem
has
naszej
become the foundation of our remembrance.
Jest więc dziś w wichurze dzisiejszych wyzwań i zagrożeń
Among
naszym skarbem,
modern day's challenges, you are our signpost, our power, our warning, individual and collective one.
Każdy dzień powinien zaczynać się
Every day should start from the feeling of gratitude for you, for the survivors.
Odrzucilibyśmy pamięć i
Because
doświadczenie,
if we were to reject
to zaczniemy znowu,
the remembrance
jak
and
Zaumen Gradowski,
experience, we will, like Salman Gradovski, start to accuse even the moon of indifference,
aby przyszedł,
begging it
spojrzenie swoich
to
jasnych
come
oczu
to
na przeklętą, ciemną ziemię
have a look at the dark
i zobaczył.
earth and to see.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, let those lit candles be the symbol of our remembrance of the victims of Auschwitz concentration and death camp. And now I'd like to invite President of the Republic of Poland, Karol Nawrocki, to place a candle.
znicz zostanie złożony przy
The
pomniku
candle will be placed at the monument to the victims of Auschwitz that is between the ruins of the gas chambers and crematoria 2 and 3.
Zapraszam przedstawicieli
Now I'd like to invite the representatives of benefactors Yossi Matias and Rowan Barnett from the company supported this place, Google, and Wojciech Soczywica, who's the Director General of the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation.
Znicz zostanie złożony przy
The candle will be placed near the remnants of the so-called White House, one of the makeshift gas chambers close to the Auschwitz-Birkenau camp.
Zapraszam opiekunów miejsca pamięci.
Now I'd like to ask the custodians of this remembrance place, Ms. Marta Cienkowska, Minister for Culture, the Secretary of the International Auschwitz Council, Mr. Marek Zając, and the Director of the Museum, Mr. Piotr Cywiński, to also place the candle.
Znicz zostanie złożony
The candle will be placed at the ruins of the gas chamber and crematorium number 4 that has been set on fire by the prisoners during a rebellion during which probably Zaumen Gradovski was killed.
Szanowni Państwo,
Ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to hold a common prayer by Rabbin Tomer Rehovi, the Bishop of the Bielsko and Żywiec Diocese, Bishop Roman Pindel, Bishop of the Cieszyn Diocese, Evangelic Augsburg, Patrian Korczago, the representative of the Polish Archcatholic Church, priest Ichumen Alexander.
מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בינו דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי ילך בגץ על מוות, לא ירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי. דשנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד רדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אל מלא רחמים. אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים, דיין אלמנות ואבי יתומים. המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים, לנשמות 6 מיליונים אחינו ואחיותינו, רבבות אלפי ישראל, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנשרפו, שנחנקו, שנקברו חיים ושהומתו בכל מיני מיתות משונות ואכזריות בידי הגרמנים הנאצים ועוזריהם, ושהלכו לעולמם על קידוש השם, בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותם, ונאמר אמן. קדיש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קירותה, וימליך מלכותה, ויצמח פוגנה, ויקרב משיחה. חייכון וימכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה שירתה שבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יש לומר רבה משמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו וברחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Wieczny odpoczynek racz im dać, Panie, a światłość wiekuista niechaj im świeci. Niech odpoczywają w pokoju wiecznym.
Wszechmogący Boże, ponownie przed Twoim obliczem wspominamy tych, którzy na szczególnym miejscu kaźni bestialsko byli mordowani.
Dear God, we commemorate those who were murdered here. We trust in you, our God, to absolve them from suffering so they can live forever. Help us learn from the past. Help us overcome any angst against others. Motivate us to live in peace, friendship and love. Amen.
Boże duchów i ciała wszelkiego, który śmierć zdeptałeś, szatana obezwładniłeś i darowałeś życie Twemu światu.
God,
Sam, Panie,
you who defeated
daj odpoczynek
the devil,
duszom w tym obozie,
lay the souls of the camp to rest
miejscu światłości,
in the place of lightness, in the place of happiness, in the place of peace,
skąd ucieka boleść, smutek i westchnienie.
where all suffering and pain is gone.
Jako dobry, miłujący człowieka
Forgive
Bóg,
them
wszelkie grzech popełniony
as good God,
słowem, uczynkiem,
all the
myślą,
sins
gdyż
that
nie
they
ma
might have
człowieka,
committed,
który by żył i nie
as there is no human being who would
Ty
not
bowiem jesteś
sin.
bez grzechu, sprawiedliwość Twoja jest sprawiedliwością na wieki,
Are without sin,
a słowo
and your
Twoje
justice is
jest
justice for
prawdą.
ages, and your word
Amen.
is the truth. Amen.
Jak łania
Pragnie wody ze strumieni, tak moja dusza pragnie Ciebie, Boże. Moja dusza tęskni za Bogiem, Bogiem żywym. Kiedy przyjdę i ujrzę oblicze Boga. Łzy stały się moim pożywieniem we dnie i w nocy. Gdy cały dzień mnie pytają, gdzie jest Twój Bóg? Moja dusza rozczula się, gdy wspominam, jak kroczyłem w tłumie, idąc do domu Bożego. Wśród głosów radości i dziękczynienia świątecznego orszaku. Dlaczego się smucisz, moja duszo? Czemu się we mnie trwożysz? Zaufaj Bogu, bo jeszcze będę Go sławił. On jest moim zbawieniem i Bogiem. Moja dusza dręczy się we mnie, więc wspominam Cię z ziemi Jordanu i Hermonu, z góry Misar. Otchłań wzywa otchłań hukiem Twoich wodospadów. Wszystkie fale i nawałnice przewaliły się nade mną. W dzień okazuje mi Pan swoją łaskę, a w nocy Mu śpiewam i modlę się do Boga mojego życia. Mówię do Boga, opoko moja, dlaczego mnie zapomniałeś? Czemu chodzę smutny? Czemu wróg mnie gnębi? Obelgi moich wrogów kruszą mi kości. Gdy cały dzień mnie pytają, gdzie jest Twój Bóg? Dlaczego się smucisz, moja duszo? Czemu się we mnie trwożysz? Zaufaj Bogu, bo jeszcze będę Go sławił. On jest moim zbawieniem i Bogiem.
Za nami główne uroczystości 80.